Welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays talk about and review their favorite Star Wars content while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers. Hey, Bradley, do you remember on Treasure Planet when we talked about watching movies and understanding why we are the way we are?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched this movie a lot as a kid.
This makes so much sense.
Yep.
After you forced me to watch yet another Ewok
We're watching
movie.
Ewoks 2, The Battle for Endor this week. Bradley and I watched both of them, and we've recorded these episodes early because by the time you hear this, Bradley will be in Japan.
Right. So
I will be shortly joining him. But yes, last week you heard Ewoks Caravan of Courage. Now we're going to talk about the second movie, Ewoks The Battle for Endor.
And the fact that you rewatched, I say rewatched as in you watched this movie more than one time, but you were able to watch this movie more than one time is astounding, first of all. As a child, not that surprising. And also, the fact that this clearly shaped you as a fully adult human being is even more not surprising, based on everything that happens in this movie.
Yep. This movie.
Yeah, I need the backstory of this one too.
And so the backstory of this one is equally as interesting.
Okay.
So they do movie one, and movie one does really well.
Really?
And they're like, okay, we're going to do movie two.
Sure.
We're going to do another one.
Naturally.
And so George Lucas meets with two guys named Jim and Ken Wheat, who were hired on as the directors for the second movie. And the reason they are hired on as the directors of the second movie is because they go into a meeting with George Lucas and they say, hey, so that first movie kind of sucked. Really bad and disappointing, wasn't it? You should let us make the second one.
Yeah, you should just let us take over. It's fine.
And George was like, you know what? Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Why not? Apparently, the original pitch for the movie was it was going to involve the entire Tawani family, according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
But George Lucas, when they were having these story meetings, had just watched a movie called Heidi. And the movie Heidi apparently involves a young girl who befriends an old man. And George Lucas was like, actually, what if we just killed the whole family off so I can make my version of this other movie?
When I tell you that I did not even make that connection until just now, because like, I'm not even kidding you. When I was little, when I would go like to my grandmother's house for like the weekend or whatever, guess what she had on VHS was the Shirley Temple Heidi movie. And I
Pretty
used
sure
to watch it
that's the
constantly.
movie. That's the movie George Lucas watched and was like,
It's
I want
very
the
apparent.
second Ewoks movie to be this movie.
It's very apparent after knowing that information. Holy balls. Sindel is definitely supposed to be modeled after Shirley Temple. Like, it's not even a question.
Yep.
Like, he thought, well, we couldn't get Shirley Temple for the movie, so we got this girl who do it for cheaper. And that's what this is. Like, holy shit, it's the same movie. It's the same movie with hella other random ass shit in it, but it's the same movie. That's so crazy. Okay.
Yep. That's why this movie is the way it is.
That also maybe leads into something else though. Like the poster for the movie.
Yes.
The original poster. I see a different one on Wikipedia that actually makes more sense for the current movie. But if you look up the original poster or the one that's on Disney Plus.
Yes. This is really weird. It shows the dad.
Is it supposed to be the dad?
I think it's supposed to be the dad.
I think he's wearing the same outfit. Yeah. But or I think
the
might
point
be
is
the
there's
other
a
character.
Random fucking man.
Yes, there's a random
that
younger
we
man.
can't tell who this is. This man does not seem to appear in the movie.
Not at one time ever.
I think it's supposed to be the dad.
See, I thought it was supposed to be Noah's partner / co-pilot friend or whatever character.
I don't know.
That they changed. Like that's why they killed him, because apparently the actor quit halfway through or something, and that's why they have him dead in the movie.
Really?
Don't quote me on this, but I feel like I just read that somewhere. Yeah, if you type in like why is the Battle for Endor poster different or something like that on Google, I feel like the actor quit or was fired or something happened, and so they had to rewrite and changed it to the Noah character instead, who's older. Or maybe they just changed it and they just never changed the poster. I don't know what the reasoning was, but I think the original draft was it was a younger version of Noah, or he was not an old man.
Yeah, because he's being played by Wilford Brimley. Is
This-
is the old man in this movie is being
yeah,
played by Wilford Brimley, who, fun fact, did not like the directors of this movie.
crazy.
So any scene in which Wilford Brimley appears in this movie is being directed by Joe Johnston, who's the
Oh,
production designer,
okay.
because he cannot stand the directors of this movie, which is like half the movie.
Uh, yeah, I have to start at the very beginning because the thing that I had to text you before you even recorded was the
Yes.
beginning. Not even, I don't even know how quickly into the movie this goes. But my first note is, what the fuck? Wicket can fully talk now.
Yeah. Wicket speaks lines of dialogue in this
Wicked,
movie.
Wicket fully speaks basic in this movie.
Fully speaks
There's
basic.
not even, yes,
As
it's
a kid,
broken basic or whatever, but it's like, it's still basic. Like he
as a
speaks fully
kid,
basic.
did not register for
Did
me.
not care.
Genuinely came as a shock to me when I plugged this movie in to rewatch it for the podcast. I was like, is he fucking talking?
He's fully talking.
He is fully talking. And this is what we were talking about the timeline stuff in the last episode.
Yeah,
This is part of why it's so hard to reconcile.
right.
He fully speaks words
Words.
in this movie. There's no narrator in this one because
Right.
Wicket can fully talk and the Ewoks can fully talk.
I will say from a well, we'll call it a production standpoint, I guess. Having characters in your movie that can actually speak is probably better writing than having a movie where the characters speak an alien language that no one understands. And it's very hard to convey plot when the characters can't communicate with each other in scene. So the fact that Wicked can fully talk, I will not say is a bad part about this movie. However, it is a part of the movie that I was like, actually, what the fuck is happening? But
Yep.
I like it. I'm just like, okay, I just accept the fact he speaks basic now. That's fine, I guess. Sure, they've been practicing, I guess, or
You just got to
whatever.
deal with a lot
You just have to kind of
to
accept things in
deal
this
with
movie.
this movie. Again, this is a lot of things have not been established about Star Wars at the time these movies have been made.
Right.
So Battle for Endor comes out in 1985. So this is a real quick turnaround time for the first movie.
Oh, it's literally, yeah, I'm surprised that it happened the following year. Like, that's kind of really
Yeah.
strange for
Now
movies.
Lucas is not as involved this time around.
Right.
I think it's evident in the movie
Hmm.
in that this is my super hot take about this movie. It is a better movie than the first one. I am less interested in it. It's a pretty generic fantasy film
Yeah,
compared to the first one, where you can kind of tell Lucas had his grubby little paws all over the movie
right.
and it's showing all of his fun little Lucasisms. This one lacks a lot of that. And I found it less interesting to study on a technical level
Right.
because I went, yeah, this is a movie. It's fine. It's pretty good, actually. Like, that was my issue with it, is because
That it's good.
when I realized how much Lucas was involved in the first movie, and the first movie is not as good,
Right.
but it's not as good as Interesting Ways. This one is good. Like, the plot makes cohesive sense. The character arcs make sense. Characters have arcs that are very clear. There is a clear three-act structure to this movie.
I was gonna say the structuring of this movie is a
The
lot
structuring of this movie is
better.
better. It makes sense. All this makes the movie less interesting to me as a piece of media because I'm just like, yeah, this is a perfectly serviceable adventure fantasy movie
It's
that
also
happens to have Ewoks.
yeah, well, here's that's okay. I was gonna bring that up. This movie out of the two, I would say this one doesn't feel like a Star Wars. Only because I think this is just honestly, this is like what Dark Crystal with Ewoks in it. Like it's basically that. Like
Except for the last like 20 minutes of the movie when
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're
But
doing the Battle of Endor again,
literally,
less interestingly,
yeah, 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 yeah. I that's why I was like, it
which is
just
still
feels like
impressively directed, I will say. The
no, yeah.
titular battle for Endor is clearly much cheaper than Return of the Jedi, but still fun to watch.
No, for sure. Actually, I would even argue the opening scene of this movie where I'll call it a battle, but it's like where the evil aliens. I don't even know what they're called. Attack the
They
Ewok
have a name.
people. Yeah, what's
They
the
are the Christ on a cracker. Okay. The
Sanyasin?
Senyasans.
Sanyasin Marauders.
Senyasans.
Okay. I
The
mean,
Sanyasan Marauders.
Sanslayan Slay
I'm just gonna call them the fucking
monsters.
orcs. The
The orcs.
fucking orcs
Okay,
come
no, but
in
for that's so real. Like, okay,
and
that's my problem. And also the violence against children. They smack the fuck out of Sindel and knock her down at one in the beginning. Like her and Wicket,
Mhm.
they truly just beat up children in this movie.
This
Like it's
movie
like
had to
what?
have warnings on
Really?
TV about, yeah, when it aired.
That's really
So
funny.
there were some warnings they had to put on it to be like, no, because the first movie, Sindel's just kind of along for the ride, and
Right.
Mace is doing a lot of the heavy lift.
I agree.
Sindel is in mortal peril at points in
No,
this movie.
at most times in this movie.
Hmm.
The like she's so actually she actually gets better. I know it's only been a year since like she's done the first movie, but I think her acting in this one is actually better.
I think it's because she has Warwick Davis to play off
I
of.
think
Because
I think
Warwick is
she's
about
just better.
12 or
Yeah.
13 when they make this movie. I think he's about 12 or 13 when they make this movie. She's about, looks like about 6 or 7.
Right.
So, and obviously he's around her for the majority of the script. So she's
Yeah.
either playing off Warwick Davis,
I
who's a
think they're
very
comfortable
excellent
together.
actor.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable together in a way they're
Right.
not comfortable together in the first movie.
I agree.
And also, Wilford Brimley is doing a great job of acting off of this kid.
Yeah, I think it's just like the fact that she was able to I think the first movie is already pretty hard probably for a kid to act against little demon teddy bears. Like I don't know if it's necessarily
Little
the easiest job.
unblinking monsters.
Right. So, and then knowing that there's people in those costumes, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it is kind of hard. I think now that she's done it, it's a lot easier to kind of react and do stuff. I don't know. I think she's just a lot better. I just have, okay, another plot problem. They fully kill her whole family.
They do fully kill her whole family at the start of
I
this movie.
thought that the way that this movie was written, I'm not even kidding. Like, and tell me if I'm over analyzing. Is this not written in a way that reveals in the end that the parents were not dead, slash the brother and mom were not dead this whole time? They were just off fucking off doing something, and the only reason why she thought they were dead was because their bracelet got damaged or some shit. There was, you
Nope.
know what I
George
mean?
wanted them to be orphaned so that we can do Heidi
Why the fuck did he killed them? Like, it makes no
because he
sense.
wanted to make Heidi.
I cannot stand that so much. Like
That
it
that is
pisses me the hell
literally
off.
that is literally why the plot of this movie is the way it is
I'm not kidding
because
you. I went through this whole movie thinking that they were going to come back in the end. Like fully.
nope,
I fully
they're
thought
just
at least
dead.
the brother was going to come back, right?
They're
No.
just dead.
They fully just write them off
They
and they don't
fully
even
just
show
kill them
it.
off.
They show like an explosion in the background or whatever and you're
Well,
like,
because
"Well,
it's
they're
it's
dead."
TV.
I
And like
know,
the
but
dad, they come as close to I think showing it, but they were going for
right.
like they
They're
were
killed off
going for
screen.
that TV rating. So yeah,
Yeah.
the family gets killed off screen. I will say the dad scene where he dies does hit, I think, differently if you come right off the first movie
Yes.
and watch this one.
Yes.
That hits. Like the beginning of this movie is an emotional roller coaster, and like the vast majority of the movie is an emotional roller coaster. Like it's absolutely wild some of the swings that they took in this movie to bend it over. I actually have a quote. I'm gonna quote from Ken Wheat, and this is a quote that's on Wikipedia. Wikipedia. He says, George George had given almost no notes on the script at all. But after our first cut, he came up with an assortment of new scenes and shots for us to film and cut in. Apparently, that's the way he likes to work. And although we hadn't been tipped off in advance, producer Tom Smith had scheduled and budgeted this George factor from the beginning. End quote.
Wow.
So they write the script for this movie based on George Lucas randomly watching Heidi and deciding he wants the movie to be this. And then when they start filming, he's barely involved. He's involved in like everything that's on the screen is George approved, but he's not really
He's
involved.
not there, right? Yeah.
And then swoops in and is like, I want you to add a whole bunch of stuff
I'd be
into the
curious to see
movie.
what were his notes. Like, I want to know. Like, I genuinely want to
Yep.
know. Like, I want him to be like, in his notes somewhere it says, make sure you add a fabulous bitch shapeshifter witch
Oh yeah,
for absolutely no
let's
reason.
talk about Sherelle.
Okay.
This fucking drag queen ass
This, yes.
witch is
What
just
the fuck?
here.
This Rita Repulsa like knockoff. Like what? I
It's
love it.
fucking amazing.
But
She is the best part of the movie.
no, no, but like I need to know more about. See, of course, I'm such a fucking bitch for women in Star Wars because like I need to know her
This
backstory.
is the original, like one of the original bitches in Star Wars.
Yes.
Like the original trilogy had fabulous women
Sure.
in Leia Organa and Mon Mothma and Beru White Sun. This is the first like slay queen,
Yes.
evil
Evil
woman
bitch.
in
Yes. I
Star
love it. Yes.
Wars.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No,
And
because
she
why?
is absolutely rocking this. Sian Phillips is the actress
Love.
um, who is playing this absolutely wonderful character. Um,
Live.
and is
The live.
absolutely just like I love it. I
Uh,
love this character so much. She's just randomly here, shape
randomly here
shifting with evil magic
into a crow
into a crow,
for no reason. So not a
and
Star
then
Wars thing, just a crow.
and then and then she gets stuck as a crow at the end of the movie, and we get no resolution of this
No
character whatsoever.
resolution to the fucking. Okay, I hate to jump to the end, but because we're talking about her, the
Spoilers for
spoilers
Ewoks
for
2: The Battle for Endor, by the
right, the
way.
very end of the movie, because we're already jumping to the end. The villain dies, gets turned to stone with the ring in his hand, and it glints like to prove that like it's in his hand or something. I thought that she was going to like go break open his hand and get the ring back. And they never did that or shot it or explain what happens to her. She's just a crow on
Nope.
Endor for the fuck ever. And that's tragic as fuck, honestly. Like as
Hmm.
a totally and honestly, does she
I don't
even do anything wrong? Like I'm not even kidding you.
No, no, she does not.
Well,
I
she
support every
kidnaps
decision this
Sindel
woman makes.
at one
I
point, but
support every decision this woman makes.
okay, also to stick on the story of her. When Sindel is rescuing all the Ewoks from prison and then they're like, "Oh, let's rescue the witch too." Sindel's like, "Fuck no." And she grabs the keys and
I
she throws
love
down the
that.
thing.
I love that moment.
Oh my fuck. It's so funny. Sorry, that's all I had about the evil lady, but I just thought it was
Oh, I
so
have so much more about the evil lady.
funny.
Before I tell you the plot twist with the evil lady,
Yes.
because there is a plot twist involving this character. I was just going through the filmography for Sian Phillips, who is
Yes.
the actress who plays Sherelle the witch. Born in 1933, she is still alive and still acting.
Get her in a Star Wars right now.
She, I'm just looking at some of the stuff she's been in. As far as movies, she was in the 1984 Dune. She's Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam.
That makes so much sense.
Hmm. As far as like TV goes, she is actually in a TV version of Heidi in
Shut
1993.
the fuck up.
Yep. So 8 years after this movie, she is most recently for TV appeared in Doctor Who
Okay,
in
I mean,
2024.
what? Love her. Icon. Oh, she's the main witch in Dune.
Yeah,
Oh
in the
shit.
in the
In the old
1984
movie. Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, shit. She is amazing. I need her to be in a Star Wars right now. If she's in Doctor Who in 2024, this woman is a national treasure. Call your representative, get her in a modern Star Wars today. I need it now
She
more
has
than
an
ever.
autobiography which I need to read. She has a 2 volume autobiography
Volume,
which
holy
tracks.
shit. I mean,
I'm
well,
just
yeah, I guess
going
if you were
through her
born in the
Wikipedia
30s.
page.
Yeah.
She was she's been married. She would married Peter O'Toole, and then she married Robin Sachs. Oh, this woman is iconic.
She's 92 years old. Are you
Absolutely incredible.
national fucking treasure? I actually do have another note about her randomly. Um,
Okay.
in the scene where she shapeshifts into Galadriel,
Oh yeah,
what
I fucking forgot about
okay,
that.
so there's a scene in the movie where she's pretending to be this random woman in the woods in this flowing white gown. They actually pick a different actress to portray her, like this Lady Godiva shit. I don't even know who plays the other version of her, but it's some random lady. So I don't know why they didn't just make her not have black hair and just did her makeup differently and just make it her, but whatever. I mean, it's fine, I guess. Iconic. that she shapeshifts as this random lady to trick Sindel, I guess, to being nice to her. I don't even know what the purpose of it was other than to be like, come here, little girl. And even her horse shapeshifts back into a black horse versus the white horse. Like, this lady is amazing. I love random ass magic in Star Wars. Also, random ass magic in Star Wars with a magic ring. What is this? What explain that she's obviously not a like a witch, but well, it's not a witch if you use a object, right? What's a is that a wizard in D&D? What is it? What's a person who only uses a magical object to use magic? They need the object to use the magic. They don't have natural magical ability. Come
Ooh.
on, D&D podcast.
No, I play Star Wars 5e. I am actually quite bad at D&D lore, but what I am good at is Star Wars lore, and I have Star Wars lore that is a plot twist about this character. All right, Bradley, are you ready?
I
Are
am
you ready for
ready.
one of the big reasons I had you watch this movie?
Okay.
You remember how we've been talking about this character as a witch?
Yes.
This is the very first character to ever be a Night Sister of Dathomir.
How is she a Night Sister of Dathomir?
That is a wonderful question. So, in this movie, she is a random witch.
Yeah.
In 1994, Kevin J. Anderson created The Night Sisters of Dathomir in The Courtship of Princess Leia, a book I will talk about at some point. In 1995, Kevin J. Anderson also writes the Illustrated Star Wars universe. And in the Illustrated Star Wars universe, he retconned Shirelle into a Witch of Dathomir. Now, the Witches of Dathomir look very different at this point.
Right.
But because she's been retconned into being one, she is our first on screen, first ever appearance of a Night Sister.
Okay.
Now, you may also be wondering, does she actually turn up anywhere else in Legends? And the answer is yes. She appears as an NPC in the MMORPG Star Wars Galaxies. She appears in a comic called Star Wars Ewoks Shadows of Endor. And then I was just kind of reading the Wikipedia article on her. Dave Filoni considered including her in the Clone Wars TV show,
I would
but
have
she does
passed
not
away.
actually appear in it. There is an offhand mention in a book that she's
Hmm.
using something called the Talisman of the Raven,
Oh, okay. That explains the bird.
which explains the bird. She's using a very specific talisman to turn into a bird,
Okay.
but that is her deal.
Okay. I like it. Yeah.
This is a weird example of Star Wars Legends continuity actually working together really well.
Yeah, I think it works that she would be a Night Sister if they like explained that. But like then she wouldn't necessarily need the ring for magic. She would have inherent magic ability. So I don't know if I like that aspect of it. However, unless the ring was just a random thing that she was using to enhance her magic abilities, maybe. I don't know, but then why wouldn't she turn herself back into a human at the end of the movie? Because she's a fucking crow at the end. And yeah, I know I'm overanalyzing. But I
I
just
mean, it gets worse. I have even more details about this woman,
uh-huh.
uh, which I didn't even realize this until I read it, despite having watched this movie a whole bunch. She's a witch of Endor in the
Okay,
movie
I was literally about to say, why is she even on this planet?
because I think this is supposed to be a reference to the witch of Endor who is consulted by King Saul in the Bible.
Fuck all the way off. Because
Mhm.
that leads into my second question. Why is there a fucking castle on Endor?
No fucking reason. They're not going to explain it, Bradley. This is the era before we're explaining things in Star Wars.
Because if you think about it okay,
This
let's
movie's
try.
from 1985.
Well, let's try for a second. Let's pretend that if this is a fantasy planet, it's not just the Ewok planet. Endor is a fantasy planet. So
Because
that
now we
means
have the Marauders that have crashed here as
exactly.
well.
Right. So now we're kind of mixing different genres or different classes or whatever, if you will. The Ewoks, I'm assuming, are kind of like a mixture of elves and like dwarves because they're obviously like smaller and like whatever, but they also are in the woods and they are, I don't know, but they're not magical. So I guess it's more dwarf like. And then if there's this castle here and you have these marauders who either are like came at some point in time and they never left and that's why the villain wants to get power or whatever because he doesn't understand space travel because maybe they've just been here for a long time and he's just part of a generation that doesn't quite understand travel anymore. And then the witch has just been here for years because she's just a witch and maybe she was a part of the original castle people that are all
We may
dead now.
also consider, Bradley, that planets are big.
That's true. Endor is just a
Planets are
small part of
big.
it, right?
Who knows what's been happening on? I guess this isn't a planet. I guess
Oh,
this
it's a
is the
moon. I'm sorry.
sanctuary moon.
Right. I always say that. It's like, fuck, I always
It's
forget that this is
Star
just the
Wars. There's
moon. Yeah.
random shit. Why was there random fucking temples in A New Hope that are ancient and look
Yeah, that's true.
suspiciously like real pyramids for some reason? It's who fucking knows? The Star Wars galaxy is thousands of years old. They can have a random castle.
I guess.
I
I mean,
do
yeah.
I do miss the random castles though. This happened a lot in Legends. You would have a random fucking castle. I do kind of miss the random fucking castles.
Technically they did, right? Because Batu is like there's an ancient civilization that was there before, that there's all these caverns and temples that they clear
That's
out
true.
and set up the
And how do you
base
know that information, Bradley?
because I read the book.
Uh-huh. And what else did you have to do?
Oh, and I went to the park, obviously.
You had to stand in that line with
I did. I
me.
had to, and we saw the temples, and I was like, "Oh, look, it's kind of
Yes.
like the book
The
where like,
first the first time we went through, we did the lightning lane and we went
right,
straight on through. But then
right,
there was that time where you and I actually queued for it later in the day.
right."
And so you could actually go through and you could see like the various aspects of this old temple. But this is just a random fucking castle.
This is a random fucking
That's
castle.
just here.
It was giving me Black Cauldron vibes. I was like,
Oh, you're so right.
this whole movie, I was like, this is the Black Cauldron. Like, this is that whole kind of plot line, essentially. Like, I was like,
Again,
yeah.
George Lucas is a nerd.
Oh, nerd.
And like this is pre the Lord of the Rings movies. So listeners who are my age might even be surprised at this because fantasy was not the juggernaut that it is now. It's not the main thing bringing in the money and getting the budgets.
Right,
The fantasy that you're getting are books and comics. And it's like ridiculous shit, like Conan type shit is what you're getting. And so the people that are making like fantasy films and things are like nerds. And
right,
he's making films like these two movies that have these sort of sword and sorcery elements to them. And Star Wars incorporated the same thing. It's these sword and sorcery elements to the plot in ways that, they didn't think of fantasy as the same type of genre that we think of it as,
right,
which is very interesting to look at the movie through that lens. And then in 2001, Fellowship of the Ring comes out, and Lord of the Rings becomes one of the biggest things fucking ever
right,
on the film side of things. And then you also, as a bunch of like, as fantasy and fantasy gaming and fantasy books are becoming more and more in the mainstream, you also have literature as a great place where fantasy sort of flourishes in the mainstream. Then you get more of fantasy becoming its own sort of genre with rules.
Ooh,
Whereas previously it didn't really have rules in the same way. Did you want a
right.
random fucking castle on your space planet? You get a random fucking castle on your space planet. Does the witch need to follow any of the rules that you have established in the four movies for how your magic system works in Star Wars?
Oh
No.
yeah. Yeah, I guess that is a question I had is like there's no mention I don't even know if you'd call it a mention or even bother, but like talk about the movie. Obviously the movies were made before this, right? This came out after all three movies were already made.
This is 1985, so yeah,
Right.
this it was Return of the Jedi and then Caravan of Courage and then Battle for Endor.
And in Return of the Jedi, we establish a lot more about the magic force-esque stuff, or at least an empire or whatever, right? Like it's a little bit more clear. They kind of hint at it
Oh, they're
in
still making shit up in Return of the Jedi.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like but you've made up a bunch of stuff at this
You have
point.
made up a decent amount of stuff at this point.
Right. A semi-basic set of rules. So telekinesis, whatever, right? Like all that stuff.
You
So,
established that the force is a power that can lift rocks
right.
and stuff.
Exactly.
That's basically
So,
what you've established.
and
Now,
make hologram people somehow. Yeah. Ghost
uh,
people.
yeah, you do
Yeah.
ghost people now.
Right.
That's a thing that we made up randomly because
Sure.
yeah, Alec
And mind
Guinness
control.
wanted
Yeah.
to get paid. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But here's the fun thing too is you're talking about this movie kind of pulling I think that was the point you were getting to is this movie kind of pulls random magic bullshit out of its ass.
Right, that doesn't connect to the other random magic bullshit that you already established.
Bradley, I have amazing news for you about the first 15 years of Legends material.
What's that?
There was absolutely no overriding principles to how the Force is supposed to work, and Luke would do insane fucking bullshit all the time
You know what? I miss.
because
Um,
it's just magic.
I
And
miss that.
around the point, the prequels are really the turning point for this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make the argument, I'm going to do a thing that, sorry to any Legends people that are listening. I'm going to say mean things about Knights of the Old Republic in particular,
Uh-oh.
but also all video games that were having to deal with the Force were guilty of this. KOTOR was just one of the most, I think, blatant versions of this. You got something that I refer to as the video gaming of the Force. When you make a video game, you need things to have very clear use cases because you have to balance your game. You have to think about how the game plays in practical function. It has to be fun. And the problem is that when you take a soft magic system like the Force and you translate it into a medium where you have to turn it into a hard magic system by virtue of just making the piece of media that you're making, it winds up having this knock on effect to how it's used throughout the entirety of the multimedia franchise. And that is to say, when video games really started like having force systems that you could use, that's when we started to get very clear definitions of what the force could do. It can push, it can pull, it can do lightning, but that is a dark side power, even though it really isn't, but we don't have time to get into that. You have battle meditation, you can do this, you can do that. These are very clear things that you can do. And it's not helped by the prequels Jedi being like these very, very like by the book people generally, I think also contributed to that. So by the time we get through sort of the later era legend stuff, it's very like we know definitively what the Force does.
Right.
And then the sequels happen. And people get really confused when they start pulling random shit from like source books and
Yeah.
RPG guides from the 1990s to be a major plot point in The Last Jedi. And people are like, where the fuck did this come from? The Force can't do this. Well, no,
Well,
it can do whatever you want for the
right.
plot. That's that's one thing that I think the creatives in the Disney era, particularly Dave Filoni, loves to be like, the Force can randomly do this because I say it can, which is a very George Lucas way of doing things.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't blame him. This movie proves that really they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, honestly, and it didn't matter until, and now I'm just now realizing that you don't, if you only use the original trilogy, there's not really a lot of force powers. Like there's nothing
No,
really that goes on that much. There's not that much the force. So like until the prequels, and then that's when they start establishing, like even in the first fucking movie, they do this little speed running thing, the blink and you miss it thing, where like they speed force run. Like I
Force
don't even
Dash.
remember that even being a thing. And that's why, and I love those movies and I don't even remember that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, holy shit, like they've been doing shit like that since the beginning. So, but
That's
like,
why this movie sort of works for me with the
yeah,
weird Shirelle magic, because even if you ignore the fact that she was retconned into being a Night Sister, and that's why she can use the magic that she's using, even if she's using the Force, this is classic Star Wars, man. I mean,
I
you're
love
just
it.
gonna make up random wacky shit. The Ewoks use magic in the animated show.
Though I think they use it in this movie, no? There's a part where the shaman like puts a like a magic spinner, or is that in the first movie? Is it
I
the
think
magic
that's the
spinner
movie.
that shows
That
his
is the
parent?
movie, The Magic Spinner. You were complaining about it in the first movie.
Yes, there you go. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm
the
saying is
Ewoks have
they use
magic.
magic. So like it's not even that weird. We're just calling it different things, right? So like force, magic, it's all different. It's all different words, but it all
The
means the same thing.
thread.
The thread.
Wow, it's almost like that speech in The Acolyte about how everybody calls it different things did not come the fuck out of nowhere.
Weird.
Hmm.
Strange how that happens
Interesting.
to have
Interesting.
media literacy. Okay,
Interesting. Have I mentioned Leslie Headland is a really big Legends fan?
you have have you
I think once or twice.
maybe once or twice.
Hmm.
I want to move on to the probably the only reason why this even connects to Skeleton Crew in any way, shape, or form that I could think of.
The whole reason I pitched you doing these is our break.
Right. Each movie had like a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing that connected to Skeleton Crew, and so we were like, close enough.
We
Um,
watched Treasure Planet because every fucking body messaged me and said,
sure.
please do a review of Treasure
That was a
Planet.
good connection.
That was a good connection. And then because of a thing that appears in Skeleton Crew,
Right.
I pitched Bradley, why don't we do these movies? So let's talk about Teak.
Teak is also a Teak alien, right? Or is that just a different, am I just making that up?
I forget if it's the Teak. It's credited as Teak.
Right. But I
Like
think Teak is the name, but I
Teak
think it's
is the
also the species,
name.
no?
That is an excellent question. Let me check.
Yeah, let's see. What does Wookiee say? Wookiee says teak is a
It's a
teak.
teak.
Okay.
Teak is the name and the species. Also, side note, just reminded me, blurgs are in this movie too.
Oh, yes. The randomly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Is this where they first appear? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
this is where they're from.
Oh, okay. Then there you go. So Mandalorian stole these designs.
Yes, the Mandalorian
Oh, well, no,
stole the
no,
blurgs.
not even Mandalorian. They were in Clone Wars before, or in Rebels, right? Which one was it where they're on Ryloth and they're riding them and they're running? It's Rebels,
It's
where they're running
rebels.
from the Empire on the
The
blurgs.
blurgs.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. I was trying to keep all my legends and canon stuff together. Let's
Welcome to
talk
my
about
nightmare.
let's talk about teak. The teak species appeared in Skeleton Crew briefly. The ferryman who helps them at Port Borgo is a teak species. However, this is where I got confused watching this movie because the teak in Skeleton Crew is maybe like 12 total inches tall, like if that,
Uh-huh.
like, and then this one is clearly the size of Wicket, if not semi taller than, like, only a little bit taller than Wicket. So maybe like it says he's exactly less than 1 meter tall, whatever that is in feet. But
A meter is 3 feet.
okay, so he's 3 feet tall, exactly. So I don't think that adds up with canonic teak species
Sorry, a meter
height.
is 3.28084 feet.
Okay,
So
well,
a little over 3 feet.
yeah. So
We're American.
right.
Sorry
So
about that.
sorry for our
Sorry for
I
everyone in the world that isn't us and like two other countries.
so I don't understand. Well, okay, so I don't understand why Skeleton Crew people chose to make them so small in the thing when
I
they're
don't
just
fucking know.
what I'm gonna call regular size 3 feet. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really add up. But I guess then the Ewoks are also kind of
The one in
semi-random sizes.
Skeleton Crew is also not the fucking Flash.
It does do super speed at one point, just like
Does
Teak
it?
does in this one. Yep,
Wait, does it?
they
I
both have super
completely
speed.
forgot.
They both have super speed in this.
I don't
So
fucking know why the Teak Skeleton Crew is like a tiny teak. I
makes no
have
sense.
no idea.
However, I guess there are variations of sizes of creatures, so I guess it makes sense. But because even in this, the Marauders, there's a little person actor playing one of the Marauders at one point. So there is a
Oh, so George,
yeah.
the reason the Marauders are the way they are, also, I will say, George insisted that the Marauders be like 7 feet tall.
It's interesting though because one of them is a little person.
Why there's some random Marauder that's the same size as the Ewoks, but then all of the others are like 7 feet tall.
So strange. I don't understand it. None of it makes any sense whatsoever.
I think the problem, Bradley, is I did not warn you about these movies prior to us watching them,
Yeah.
and you are trying to make them make sense. They do not make sense.
Yeah, I it doesn't make sense, but I want it to make sense. And I'm like, okay, Teak is great and all. He
I
just
wish, listeners, that you could see the dumbfounded expression that Bradley is making as he mentally replays this movie, trying to make it make sense.
well, it's so hard because in addition to, okay, we're gonna go with the family that crashed in their ship, so they're human. Noah and his partner, whatever, that we never meet, who's dead in the castle, also kind of crash landed. Not really. Their ship is just like nicely parked, but like I don't
Well,
know
I
what
think I
happened there.
think he rebuilt it. I
Oh,
think
okay,
they say
maybe
in the
okay. So,
movie he like rebuilt it because
but
he's
never
been here for
left.
years.
He just built a
He
cabin
didn't
and
have
never left.
he didn't have the part. He didn't have the part he needed to leave
Oh, that's right.
because the ship's all ready to go, and then they have to
They have it in
plug the
their
thing
ship.
in.
Okay, right.
They have it in their
Um,
ship.
right. Okay, so there's the humans, right? But they
He's
crash
had
landed,
time to
so whatever.
build a whole fucking house.
Right. But I'm not counting them as like living on Endor, right? Like they just happen to be here. The witch is technically human slash now you've said she's Night Sister, but she could also technically be human because we've learned that Night Sisters can be both human and Dathomirian just depending on where you're
Yeah, Night
born.
Sisters are very different in legends.
Right. So we'll just say that the witch is a human, so she doesn't quite make sense, but she's a witch of Endor, so maybe that's a different species. I don't know. And then you have Tarek and his marauders or whatever, who are a random alien species on this planet. You have the Ewoks, and then you have the Teak species. So now there's these four sentient species that just randomly live on this planet, all
Oh, it's a
cohabitingly.
moon.
Like
They all live on this random
are on the
moon.
moon, right? I just like I don't make it make sense. Why is Teak just a random thing? I don't understand him. He's really weird. Also played by a woman, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
I did not know that.
yeah, for some reason they like to do this in Star Wars where they have a woman do the actual suit work and then a man being the voice slash character for I don't understand because wasn't what's his face in
Frog
Mandalorian he was
Lady.
also played by yeah the person who played Frog Lady was also what's his face the Ugnaught from the first season. It was the same
Yes.
motion capture person.
Yeah. Frog Lady. I remember Frog Lady actress, but yeah, it was the same person in the suit playing Kuiil in
Wheel,
season
right.
one that
Exactly.
was
Oh,
playing.
sorry. I'm looking at her. She was in obviously in Ewoks. Her name is Nikki Batelho. She's known for Batman Returns and Ewoks Battle for Endor, and she played Teak in Star Tours for a little bit. Um,
Really?
I guess Teak was in Star Tours at some point that I
Teak
don't
was in
remember.
Star Tours.
Uh-huh. And then most recently in 2023, she was credited as a performance artist slash power droid in Ahsoka.
Wow.
So good for her.
Good for her.
She's in 2 episodes of
Still getting her
Ahsoka.
bag.
Yeah, she plays a power droid in both of them. So I don't know what I will have to go back and watch it, but in episode 1 and then in episode 4, she plays a power droid. So there you go.
Okay.
Okay. I love that.
This
So
this
great.
movie has a lot going on
This movie has
in
a
it.
lot going on, and
This movie
I
has a lot going on.
I thought the teak was the weirdest thing. So for the actual battle for Endor, I do have a random thing that I wrote down as a note. I said the Ewoks are using guns. The actual battle for Endor is decent. Ewoks are still using guns. Why? Like the fact that well, this is why it works canonically with Return of the Jedi. They didn't have guns in that battle for Endor.
I
So
hate to
in
tell you,
this
but
battle for
Legends has
Endor,
established in the Legends continuity of where this is. This takes place prior to the Battle of Endor.
however, I still think it's hilarious that they use literal guns in this, and it's effective because they kill the other marauders or whatever at some point. I just find it really funny that the Ewoks are using guns. There was also violence against children in this movie. I just find this movie is unhinged in the
This
best of
movie is
ways.
fucking crazy.
In the best way, this movie is unhinged, and
Like, I find it
yeah,
less interesting to watch than Caravan of Courage. I think it
sure,
very much like has the edges sanded off. It doesn't have that George sparkle to it
right.
that I thought Caravan of Courage had. It is the more fun movie to watch.
It 100% is,
Like,
and
as a movie, it is the more fun movie to watch.
if I had to rewatch them, I would rewatch this one. I would not rewatch
I loved this
the
movie
other
as a
one.
kid.
Oh, what is the guy from the Addams Family is playing the Carol Strucken. He plays Tarek, the villain, you know? He's Lurch in the Addams Family.
That does not surprise me in the slightest.
Holy shit. This movie is a stacked cast. Like
This movie
what
is a
how is
stacked cast.
what the actual fuck, dude? Like this is
Stacked fucking
crazy.
cast.
I am shooketh that Paul Gleason is Jeremit in this movie. Like, what the heck? I okay, I'm done. I can't.
It's crazy. We
I can't
cannot
keep
keep
talking about this
looking.
movie. It was I will say my final thoughts on this movie were it was It was a ride. It was definitely a ride. This is the better of the two. And I'm shocked that because, George had such a hard on for trilogies, that there wasn't a third
Yeah,
Ewok movie.
let's talk about that.
Because what happens at the end of this movie?
So the reason there isn't a third one, and there was a third one in development,
Okay.
multiple people have said that there was supposed to be a third one that they were supposed to do. And they were even talking about like spinning it off into a whole TV show, which is why I thought Caravan of Courage was an extended pilot. It is not.
Right.
It was only around this one they were talking about doing a TV show, a live action TV show. This movie was too damn expensive,
Really?
and they just couldn't justify making another one. So it just kind of fizzled out, which is again, these movies, the first one was made on TV level budgets. This
Right, right,
one
right.
clearly has more budget,
More of a budget, yeah.
more of a budget, but you can also tell it gets expensive over time. And Lucas is financing these, but he is not made of money and he is a businessman.
Sure. Well,
So
he's not gonna keep throwing away his money.
he's
Like
not
he'll
going to
do
keep
it, but
throwing money at it.
right.
There
He only
was
had so much at a
discussion
time.
there was discussion of doing Ewoks 3. It just never happened because this movie proved to be too expensive to really
Mm,
justify the third one. So as it
that's so
stands,
crazy.
we have our little duology of Ewok movies here.
That is a shame because, well, it's not a shame because thankfully I don't have to watch another movie.
Yes, you
Um,
do not have to watch another Ewoks movie. I will be forcing you to read some Legends books.
I will say though that as we know through history, the third movie is not necessarily one of the better of any trilogy, depending on the trilogy you're watching.
I can
Um,
think of one trilogy in which the third movie is the best, and I'd argue that's not even a trilogy.
oh, okay. And
That
that
is
would
The
be
Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings.
Rings. Yeah, I knew you were
Return of
gonna
the
say
King
that.
is the best of the three movies,
No,
but The Return of the King is the best of the three movies, not because of the fact that it's the third movie, but because it's the third act of a 12 and a half hour long movie.
right.
Because the third act is usually the best act of a full and complete story. And The Lord of the Rings is not three movies. The Lord of the Rings is one full and complete movie in three parts. The same as it was one full and complete book in three parts that they just chopped up. Because the publisher was like, we are not fucking publishing this as one book. Absolutely not, John. What are you doing?
So my one little random fact about this movie, and then I'm done, is
Okay.
the part where Teak is eating muffins, where Noah's like, here's some muffins. He's like, but don't give it to the little fuckers outside because they're homeless and we don't want to give them food.
I love
They'll
Noah in
stick
this
around.
movie. I
Um,
love him. He's so fun.
so Teak empties the plate of muffins into his bag, right? And then puts the plate back on the table. And then Noah's like, "Oh, you were hungry, you know." But every time they cut back to Noah saying that, the plate of muffins is still there on the table.
Look, these movies were
Anyway,
made very fast and for
I know.
not a lot of money.
I love seeing movie errors like that. So there you go. That was your movie error for this movie. I didn't
There
do it
we
for the
go.
last movie because I didn't think to mention it, but the part where he sticks his arm in the tree and he's getting caught by the monster or whatever, when he first puts his arm in the tree, it's his left arm, but then when they cut to the wide shot of him in the tree, it's his right arm so you can actually see his full body because otherwise he would be turned away from the camera. And so it's just really funny errors. So yeah, that movie was a thing that you made me watch. Please go watch it on Disney Plus. It is the better of the two, and I think you would enjoy it as a historical artifact. I
I
don't
think it
necessarily think they're good movies, but I think they're good historical pieces that you need to watch.
I would agree. I think that both movies are worth watching on their own merits. As a Star Wars fan, I definitely think they're worth watching. Prepare to take them as they are. That is
Yes,
my caution. Now, I did not warn Bradley about these movies before he watched
right.
them because I hate Bradley
It's part
and
of the
I
fun.
want him to suffer. It's part of
Right.
the fun. For other people, say take them as they are. They are TV movies that were made in the 1980s. Temper your expectations accordingly. But overall, I think they're both worth watching. And the Battle for Endor, I would probably put on my TV again. Like, I'm probably just not going to put on Caravan of Courage in the background. I would absolutely just put on the Battle for Endor while I'm working on something.
I think so, yeah. I think it's something just to like either I'm not gonna watch it like yearly or anything, but I think like I could be persuaded to either convince someone else to watch it and like see their reaction live, like one of those things. That I could be probably persuaded to do. But I don't know. It is a rough watch for a lot of these movies only because it just takes a minute to get through. But whatever. Anyway,
Shout out to my boyfriend who walked into the room several times while I was watching both of these movies and said some variation of, "What the fuck are you watching?" And then wandered as far away from the TV as he could possibly get because he did not want to risk being corralled into watching these movies. He will put up with a lot of Star Wars on my behalf. He will put up with a lot of Star Wars that he doesn't particularly like on my behalf. He was not going to put up with these movies. Alrighty, well, that was Ewoks: The Battle for Endor. So we are, I think, not doing anything next week.
yeah, tentative. We'll probably see. It's because Celebration is up next, really. We're
Yeah, let me
trying to
pull
kind
up
of
our schedule. So
yeah, we're trying to be
as of
careful.
recording this,
I just don't want to tell anybody anything without being like 100% it's on the docket yet. So that's why I didn't want to like maybe tease anything else. I feel like we should just leave it ambiguous. And if it happens, they'll be happy that something else happening.
look, the schedule's about to get wonky because we are still going to Star Wars Celebration Japan.
Exactly.
Bradley and I are. So we are going to be there. We are not going to record a new episode while we're in Japan,
Correct.
obviously. I know our Andor episode 0 should air
Yes.
afterwards,
I think I have
very
it
shortly
airing
there,
during celebration. So like we'll
or
have
like the
it
day after.
the day after, right? So we're going to pre-record it this week. So hopefully no more Andor news comes out. Like it'll be preloaded, so it'll be like ready to go. Just like every other Star Wars creator is preloading all their stuff and getting it ready before they go. We're doing the same thing. So
But stay tuned. Follow our socials. That's where we'll talk about like if we need to skip a week or what's going to happen, et cetera, et
right.
cetera. We're just taking this as it comes because Lucasfilm hates podcasters and wants
100.
us to suffer. So Bradley, you get to go like an entire week without having to see me.
And then I have to go a whole week seeing you in person. So it is a trade-off. Like there is a trade-off here.
Yep.
Well, 3-ish, 4-ish days, I guess, depends on a lot of things, but
Alrighty. Well, you can find a bunch of reality TV shows that Bradley works on. Please watch those so they get renewed for more seasons so he gets paid. Those include such great shows as Married to Medicine, The Circle, Queen's Court, and also he works on Temptation Island. You can find me on the Star Wars TTRPG High Republic podcast, For Light and Dice. You can also find queer mystery thriller novels that I write. Those are called Beach House Studios. And you can also find me if you liked all of this Legends talk and you want to see me talk more about Legends. You can find me involved in the fan-run Star Wars EU Convention Legends Expo that is in Burbank, California, September 13th through 14th. Tickets and info are available at legends-expo.com. Can you tell we recorded 2 of these episodes in a row and I had to do the pluggables for both? Please just run the socials. Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com and let us know. You can follow us on BlueSky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Gold Squadron Gaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post full episodes of this podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also rate us and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze. Fuck you, I'm George Lucas. She turns into a bird because I say she turns into a bird.